Hey, everyone! Welcome to our cozy chat today. I'm so happy to keep you company, whether you're listening while commuting, chilling in bed, or just needing a friendly voice in your day. Today, we're diving into a topic that often gets misunderstood. Have you ever found yourself checking if the door is locked, not just once or twice, but over and over again? Or washing your hands repeatedly just to feel really clean? Maybe you've wondered, do I have OCD? But what exactly is OCD? And more importantly, what causes it? Is it psychological? Biological? Environmental? Stay with me, because you might just discover something interesting about yourself or someone you care about. Before we explore the causes, let's get to know OCD a little better. OCD stands for Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder. It sounds fancy, right? But in reality, living with OCD can be incredibly exhausting. It's not just about loving neatness or needing things perfectly aligned. OCD means having intrusive, persistent thoughts, called obsessions, and usually, to cope with the anxiety these thoughts cause, people perform compulsions, repetitive behaviors. For example, someone might fear that their house will catch fire if they forget to turn off the stove. So they check the stove 10, 20, 30 times before leaving the house. Even after all that checking, the fear still lingers. Imagine how tiring that must feel. Not just once in a while, but every single day. OCD is not just being a perfectionist, liking a tidy desk or color-coded bookshelves. That's not necessarily OCD. So, why does OCD happen? Where does it come from? Let's find out together. Let's start by looking at the psychological side. One key factor? Childhood experiences. Imagine growing up in an environment full of pressure, where you're expected to always be perfect, always clean, always right. When kids are constantly criticized for even small mistakes, they can grow up with the belief, if I mess up, something bad will happen. If I'm not careful enough, I'll be punished. The brain learns to associate safety with control. Over time, that drive for control can turn into obsessions and compulsions. There's also a strong link between OCD and anxiety. People who are naturally more anxious may be more prone to developing OCD because their minds are always scanning for danger, and rituals become a way to feel safe. But hey, if you're thinking, whoa, that kind of sounds like me, you're definitely not alone. A lot of people can relate to these feelings. Remember, anxiety isn't bad. It's just that sometimes, when it goes unchecked, it can shape behaviors that become really hard to break. And yet, psychology is only one piece of the puzzle. Let's keep going, because there's more to the story. Now let's take a peek at the biological side. Research suggests that genetics play a role in OCD. If you have family members who struggle with OCD or anxiety-related issues, your chances of developing OCD might be a bit higher too. But listen closely. Genetics don't guarantee anything. They just mean you might have a slightly bigger backpack to carry, but it doesn't define your path. Aside from genes, scientists have discovered differences in brain function too. People with OCD often show unusual activity in areas of the brain that handle fear and repetitive behavior, like the orbitofrontal cortex and basal ganglia. There's also the serotonin connection. Serotonin is like a natural calming agent in our brains. If serotonin levels are off balance, it might make it harder to manage worries and repetitive thoughts. But hey, don't worry. This doesn't mean your brain is broken. It's just wired a little differently, like how some cars run on diesel and others on gasoline. Different, but still capable of moving forward beautifully. Amazing, right? Our bodies and brains are honestly so fascinating. And guess what? There's still one more layer we haven't talked about yet. Let's keep going. Now, let's talk about the environment. The world around us plays a huge role. Imagine growing up in a house full of anxiety, endless rules, strict expectations, or being bullied or constantly compared to others. That kind of environment leaves marks. Research shows that traumatic events, like accidents, losing a loved one, or facing serious hardships, can trigger OCD, especially if someone already has biological or psychological vulnerabilities. Sometimes, trauma teaches our brains. Stay alert at all times. Perform this ritual so nothing bad happens. And slowly, those habits harden into OCD. Have you ever noticed yourself picking up weird little habits after a stressful time? That's totally normal. It's your brain's way of coping. But if those habits start taking over your life, it might be time to reach out for support. So, after hearing all this, what can we conclude? Let's talk about it next. All right, friends. Here's the big thing to remember. OCD is complex. It's rarely caused by just one thing. Think of it like baking a cake. You need flour, sugar, eggs, butter. It's the combination that makes the final product. With OCD, it's usually a mix of genetic vulnerabilities, psychological patterns, environmental influences, brain chemistry differences, all blending together. That's why we can't just say, oh, they have OCD because they're too perfectionistic. Or, they must have had a bad childhood. Everyone's story is different. Everyone's struggles are layered and personal. Maybe someone has a strong biological risk, but a very supportive environment helps them manage it well. Or maybe someone has only mild biological risk, but extreme trauma pushes them into developing OCD. The point is, no one chooses to have OCD. And absolutely no one deserves judgment because of it. At this point, you might be wondering, okay, so what now? Love that question. Let's walk through it together. 1. Self-awareness. First step, just notice. When do you feel overwhelming anxiety? Are there repetitive behaviors that feel compulsive rather than truly helpful? Just being aware is powerful. It's the beginning of understanding yourself better. 2. Seek support. You don't have to face this alone. Opening up to a trusted friend, family member, or support group can be incredibly healing. You deserve people who listen without judgment. 3. Consult a professional. If OCD symptoms are disrupting your life, work, relationships, daily activities, it's really important to reach out to a mental health professional. Seeing a psychologist or psychiatrist is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength and courage. It means you care enough about your well-being to seek help. And honestly, we all need help sometimes. 4. Mindfulness and relaxation techniques. Practicing mindfulness or simple breathing exercises can help ease anxiety. Not to cure OCD, but to manage the stress that often fuels compulsive patterns. Ever tried mindful breathing? Inhale slowly for 4 seconds. Hold it for 4 seconds. Exhale gently for 6 seconds. It's simple, and it works wonders. Wow! Look how far we've come today. From understanding what OCD truly is, to unpacking its psychological, biological, and environmental causes, to remembering just how beautifully complex human beings are. If there's one thing I want you to take away today, it's this. You are not alone. You are not broken. Having OCD or dealing with symptoms that resemble OCD doesn't mean you're weak, strange, or less than. It simply means you're human. And every human being deserves care, compassion, and support. Just a little reminder. Our conversation today is for sharing, learning, and comforting purposes only. I'm not a licensed psychologist or psychiatrist. If you're struggling with OCD or think you might be, I strongly encourage you to seek out a mental health professional. They're trained to help you find the tools and support you need. And hey, I'm seriously proud of you for showing up for yourself by listening to this kind of conversation. That already says so much about your heart. All right, my lovely friends. That's it for today's Cozy Chat. If you enjoyed this, make sure you stick around, because we've got lots more conversations coming about mental health, self-care, and the beautiful journey of getting to know ourselves. Take good care of yourself. Stay kind. Stay warm. Talk to you again soon. Bye.